Shelley Wynter is a WSB radio show host that's conservative that's supporting Trump. I see him all the time on Dr. Rashard Richey's Undisputed. They go back and forth. You know, Dr. Rashard Richey is the liberal. He's a conservative. He's always supporting Trump in the conservative agenda. And he was on CNN the other day, and he was speaking about the black vote and black men voting. And this is what he had to say about black men and just black people voting in general, but particularly black men.
Look, let me boil this election down in the African-American community to a very simple, I'll reference the great Malcolm X. This race is between House African-Americans and field African-Americans. And the field African-Americans are going for Donald Trump. I'm talking about your men who build, your men who put things together, your men who work with their hands, your men who do things, not the men who push paper, or the men who are connected to power and want to continue to be connected to power.
Are you denigrating African American men who are professionals who work in white collar jobs? Is that what I'm hearing from you, or?
No.
Now, I know you're pissed off, but let me explain to people that don't understand. Shelley was referencing a speech made by Malcolm X back in the 60s. And I'm going to play a little bit for you here, but if you want to go watch the whole thing, you can just go to YouTube. I'm going to play a little bit right now.
Back during slavery, when black people like me talked to the slaves, they didn't kill him. They'd send some old house Negro along behind him to undo what he said. You have to read the history of slavery to understand this. There were two kinds of Negroes. There was that old house Negro and the field Negro.
And we all know who Malcolm X was referring to. He was referring to those men, those black men in society who are excusing the white man's behavior during slavery, during Jim Crow, during segregation. Those men were the proverbial house Negro. And you also had the quote unquote field Negro who understood what life was really like by the master and wanted to escape the master. And then you had that dichotomy. You had one black man that said, hey, the master is treating us well. And then you had the other black man that says, hey, let's get away from this cruel, wicked master. And when you step back into when Malcolm X was doing that speech, you can make your decisions as to whether he was right or wrong, solely in the context of whether or not we should separate or whether we should integrate and fight for civil rights. But that's not what Shelley was doing. He was saying, and if you watch the clip, he was trying to clean it up. He was saying simply, if you are a Democrat and voting for Kamala Harris or any Democrat, you are a house Negro. If you are supporting Trump and voting for Trump, you are a field Negro, in that if you are a field Negro, you are the ones that are building houses, working on cars and tractors and working in the fields of America and the ants of America, keeping America moving, the truck drivers and the guys that work with their hands, you know, real men. And that only Democrats are highly educated, working in an office, walking around in button-down shirts and suits. I got one thing to ask you, and I'm gonna leave you alone. Who really is the field and house Negro in this context? Because you don't see black men or anybody for that matter that's a liberal or a Democrat supporting someone who does something stupid. Democrats will be the first ones to say, we no longer support you if you are a Democrat and doing something stupid. Unlike Trump supporters, they will defend this man through anything, and we've seen it. Malcolm X made a reference to that when he said this.
Back during slavery, when black people like me talked to the slaves, they didn't kill him. They'd send some old house Negro along behind him to undo what he said.
And every time black people or every time Democrats in general go to the black Republican and say, hey, this is what's going on, isn't it them that send out another black man to say something about Trump, to support Trump? Now go back to a lot of black men that are Republicans and listen to how they talk about black men who are not. Listen to a lot of black people who talk about black Democrats or black liberals who do not support Trump. I did a couple of videos a while back talking about where are they now, talking about black conservatives who the Republicans pushed out there to say, hey black people, see, we got black people over here too, and they're no longer around. So again, who's the house and who's the field in Shelley's context? Because he's out there supporting Trump in all his fallacies. And Democrats are just looking for a decent person to do the job for the American people. What do you think?